Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours.
Our inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Welcome back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from Peyton. It's just going to solidify everything within those.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill Thor anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
SKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lores, you're going to be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Adelaide immediately to back that fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3. So back and forth.
Good morning, noon, night, or evening. It's CGL Lowlights, episode 2. Today we're going to be covering... Oh, it's Team 1 and Team 2 on the overlay this time. Today we're going to be covering Team Hex versus Ball Mafia, but it doesn't look like we've put their names into the overlay, so we're just Team 1 and Team 2, which is not helpful. Ball Mafia starting off in red. Antarctic Peninsula is a bit of a rare pick for a team that wants to play Wrecking Ball. You know, I could have possibly figured out without going through a team rosters that maybe the team that's playing Wrecking Ball could have been assumed to be Ball Mafia. I am, however, not an intelligent man. Oh my goodness, look at this. What a beautiful pass here on Mick Ramel. Grab him in with the knife. Bam, second from Agapito. You're coming over here, baby. It does cause the dynamite to miss, unfortunately. Is this gonna be a coach gun kill? Ah, this is the I can't be bothered to aim at this particular kill. That is essentially the coach gun kill. Wow. Mick takes so many boops here. I just want to watch him get absolutely blasted around. Ah, the Overwatch 1 tank experience. Now for Sojourns. No, please don't let Mick... Oh, no. Almost allowed to burn to death and having to use the recall. Guys, come on. My comms, my awareness. Wait, what even hits you here? You get hit by something else. Are you... Oh, I see. You're in LOS of the Ash as well. That's so sad. Anime fight. Oh, no. One shotgun to end them all. Oh, yeah. This seems to be a poorly considered fight. Wait for 1v3 on the point while all of this is happening. Me when I wonder where the entire team has gone. Over here, of course. Ellie's just respawned. That Bob would be waiting around the other side. Wait, does Bob give the healing trauma debuff? Because he's a deep...
Welcome back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through. He's just gonna solidify everything within those.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lores, you're gonna be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Anvil immediately goes back to fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3. So back and forth.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Friday Night Overwatch. My name is Jeff. I will be your host throughout this day. I am joined here on the desk with Spectrion, Huntertane, and Geo. How are we feeling today, gentlemen? Been a good week, huh? How we doing?
Oh, feeling good. Excited. Yeah, I mean, it's been a great mid-season finals, and we're going right into a new regular season on our way to the grand finals. I'm just excited right now for CGL.
Yeah, we just came off the back of that mid-season tournament over the weekend. It was a blast. I mean, I think every one of us here got a chance to cast a bit of those games, watch a bit of those games. Any standouts? Give me what stood out the most? What were some highlights from last weekend? Spectrum, start with you.
I mean, I think the game I casted with Hunter featuring a team we're going to be seeing later today has to be the most important one. And that was Oblivion taking on AFMT in the console Open EU tournament, of course. Oblivion came into that, I mean, not having dropped a single map, and they ended up on the back of a loss. They did not take home the victory that pretty much everyone expected them to get. And, of course, there was the Cloud9 of all Cloud9s as well to help them get there. So that was a massively entertaining game. Very painful to watch, especially if you are an Oblivion fan, but probably the most entertaining game I cast all weekend long.
Oh, man, yeah, there were face palms aplenty, that's for sure. Hunter, you look like you have thoughts. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's the singular one that I managed to kind of get on and actually cast, and I mean, that's where my thoughts are at as well. Oblivion coming in, and to be fair, this was a team that was doing fine in a lot of areas, but it was the quote my coach loves to use is consistently inconsistent. There were times where they looked like they could have a real shot against AFMT, and times where it looked like they might not have, should have been in the midseason tournament in the first place. So, but it was still a really fun game. I have a clip that I'm going to have for the next couple of years to spread around. So it's a great time for me. But regardless, they got that finals experience. I think it's going to be really good for the team, regardless of how that finals match went.
Yeah, we made sure to embarrass Oblivion on stream there in that finals, or really they embarrassed themselves. But, we're going to make sure and show it as much as humanly possible because of that, because it's funny. Gio, last one here. What are your thoughts for the weekend? Give me a standout moment over our midseason tournament.
Man, so good. I was able to cast the Open EU division where we saw Flex Zodiacs come off of their OWCS run right into their CGL midseason game where they looked like they were going to free O play, but play got the reverse sweep overall. I mean, Flex Zodiacs came into it so confident that at one point Tricky, their Sojourn player, was overclocking in their in-play spawn on Blizzard World. It's something marvelous to watch if you go back and find that clip. But yeah, I love the confidence coming out, but play were able to get it done in the end.
Man, you love to hear it. I was ashamed to say I was not able to catch that one. I definitely have to go back and watch that VOD. So many reverse sweeps, so many hype moments. It was an incredible tournament. But we have to move forward. We're only halfway through this season 13. I mean, we still got lots in front of us. But before we get into this back half of the season, man, we have had a lot of changes coming through. Obviously, with season 9, it brought big sweeping changes to the game, to the way we play, the way we think about it. Probably the largest changes we have seen since the removal of the second tank. But then on top of that, this past Tuesday, y'all, we got more changes. I mean, just to shake it up even more, we got Malga buffed, we got Symmetra buffed. What's our thoughts coming off of Tuesday? How are we feeling about this newest patch? Hunter, let's start with you.
I mean, it's kind of, as you said, Malga and Symmetra are becoming two big key fixtures in compositions. I mean, you go ahead and watch OWCS over in Korea that debuted, if you were up at 4 in the morning like I wasn't watching it, then you have a pretty good idea of how strong that composition is right now. Oddly enough, I think it'll stay on this Malga Symmetra for a little bit, but I think the key is mainly going to be about finding what composition is going to counter, because that's how Overwatch works. Here's the strong comp, and the coaches think, okay, what is the comp that can destroy this? And it's a constant train. But if there's any character that I think is kind of a bit of a, I won't say sleeper necessarily, but that will find their way in a lot of compositions, especially dive, I think Brig is going to be a really big standout. And Ana in that sense as well. I think we'll have a bit of a jump back when we had the Winston meta with the Ana and the Brig. I feel like that's going to be viable down the line. And I'll tentatively say I'm excited to see that. It's been a while since Ana's been able to be meta, but whenever she's meta, it typically happens to be while Brig is meta as well.
It's a two-sided coin. You take the good with the bad. Ana is the most popular hero in Overwatch as far as she's the most played hero in the entire game. And I think the game has been in a pretty good state. When Ana's strong, the game typically feels good. It means Winston's usually strong. Everybody loves some good Winston. But I hear in EU we may not see as much Malga. Not quite as easy or quite as quick to pick up the double chain gun hero. Gio, what are your thoughts? What do you think EU is going to do with this new meta?
Well, yeah, EU is famously stubborn for wanting to play Brawl at any cost. They'll cling to Ramatra for as long as they can, I think. And with these teams, we're not talking about OWCS teams that have, the top of the end coaches, the top of the end players that know exactly what to go into play. So I think we're more likely to still see Ramatra comp and maybe see in this match a little bit more kind of exploration of playing that Ana Brig. Is it back? How much extra healing does Brig have now? These teams are going to be feeling that out, and I think we're going to be in a state of flux at this level of play until teams kind of really find their footing with the new meta.
Well, man, and that's part of, with all of these changes, we've had so many sweeping changes. It does feel like everything is kind of up in the air, and teams are still figuring out what exactly is going to work for them. Now, with that, all right, so we've had Malga changes, we've had sim changes that we've talked about. Is there anything else, Spectron, from this patch that really caught your eye or could play a factor here in these matchups today and going forward?
There's plenty of things that went into this patch, but I think at the end of the day, the two ones we've kind of mentioned earlier are the especially big ones. I think Roadhog is going to be a lot more consistent now in ranked, especially. I think that overall, what you find in our team play, though, is still not going to be all that viable. I do want to kind of circle back to this conversation we've been having around the Brigitte, right? Because last patch, a lot of people were saying she was dead in the water. I think Christopher, of course, ex-coach of London Spitfire, now coach of Space Station, argued that she was the worst hero in the game, bar none. And she did get some buffs, a second off her armor pack cooldown, 8% off her ult charge. Do I think that it's going to affect enough? I mean, we'll have to see. But, I mean, with the changes to the DPS passes as well, of course, moving from 20% down to 15%, it means that these damage heroes overall are going to be a lot weaker. Tanks, in general, are going to have a much easier time staying active on the front line. And I think that will benefit heroes like Malga, or even like Ramaja, who tend to take a lot of damage. I do want to bring our minds back to when Malga was first released, and I think we got to saw a lot of it played in tournaments just like this. Cappy, of course, the Roadhog of Team Poland, was playing a lot of that Malga, and the reason we didn't see it played too much after that was because Ramacha was played, you can rotate your Nemesis form block, you can rotate that shield, and basically stay alive. We may well see that same thing happening today, but of course, only time will tell.
Well, that seems like a good time to go ahead and start talking about our matchup today. We are going to have Oblivion taking on EMC Chimera for our AU Friday Night Overwatch matchup. Oblivion, well, they were coming in off of that loss of the mid-season tournament. Let's take a look at our standings. So let's take a look and see where these two teams lie in our standings. Hunter, thoughts on Oblivion here? We're 2-2, sitting at the midseason.
I mean, to be fair, I think it's still impressive by the fact they managed to get to those finals in the first place, despite being at that 2-2, and very much barely making it into the first place over EMC Chimera. I mean, honestly, I'm just proud of this team for making it to that point. But you look at someone like EMC Orpheus, and this is the team that you kind of, expected to go and make it all the way, and that ends up not really being the case. If anything, we saw that first group end up being the one that was far more successful. But I think regardless of that, I think Oblivion does stand a really good chance of racing further up and being able to be in that top 3. But I think today will be a real test for them if they can really hang around, because after watching that match against AFMT, which AFMT is AFMT, you got to give them that. We do need to see something today after that performance.
And with EMC Chimera sitting at 2-2 and right there in the middle of the pack, this feels like a pretty important matchup going into the back half of the season. Spectra, what are your thoughts on Chimera here? How important is this matchup between these two teams that are deadlocked here in the standings?
Still a little bit of time to garner an advantage, so it's not going to be the end of the world if either team loses this. Of course, plenty of Overwatch still left to play. We've just got halfway through the season, but I mean, you would love to get a foot up, a little bit of leg up above your opponents when you are so closely tied, to differentiate yourself a little bit. I think that more than anything else, getting a momentum win, I think for both of these sides, actually. Being able to snowball that towards the later end of that season, you've got to have a bit of a mental reset, even with that mid-season tournament. Now, it's time to show that you can do it on this new patch, in this new state of the game, that you are a competitive team. So it's about getting off on that right foot that I think is going to be the biggest victory here for these teams, rather than any difference in win-loss.
Okay. Now, I feel one thing that I keep coming back around to in my head is adaptation. And how well do our teams adapt to these new patches, to all the changes, and how quickly can they adapt to their opponents? Gio, do you have any sense on where you think which of these teams might be able to adapt quicker, or just even a guess on who do you think might flow with the changes a little bit easier than the other?
Well, I'm a silly man that lives in fantasy worlds for a lot of his spare time. So I hear Chimera and I think of, what is a Chimera? Well, it's a three-headed creature. You've got a dragon head, a lion head, and a goat. So very versatile creature. It also has wings. It can fly. Chimeras can really do a lot of different things. So if you talk about adaptability and versatility, a Chimera can do anything. So I think in a chaotic kind of new meta, I think the Chimeras might have it just based off their branding alone. The head I want to see though today is the goat. I want to see the goat come out of Chimera.
That is spectacular. That is the breakdown that I did not expect, but absolutely needed. I'm not even sure how to follow that up. I mean, it's mystical creature versus the void that is Oblivion. I mean, I guess if we're going by mascot versus mascot, is that the new meta now? We're just doing branding versus branding. I don't know. Yes. It's a tough one. Hunter, give me something. I don't even know how to follow that up. What are your thoughts on our branding war we have going on here?
I'll be honest. We started talking about goats. My mind went back to goats back from 2019, and now I'm thinking about 6v6. So my brain is off in a whole other.
I've created chaos.
Oh no! Oh no! Let's leave the Smino molding out of this one. All right, we'll stay in. We'll just mold about Marga today. Let's mold over one thing at a time here. All right,
yes.
let's just keep it on that. Spectron, any molding from your side here? Any of this?
I mean, firstly, I gotta say that neither of these teams have scrimmed on current patch, so it's going to be pretty new ground for both of them. I think that's very important to remember. So we might just be seeing, more of the same from, what they played previously. They spent a lot of the weekend just playing Overwatch, putting the hours in. They had plenty of practice time on what we were playing last patch, and that Moira and much for a lot of the time. So it might not be worth, blowing up that strat, trying to play something new so fresh in. So they might be coming into this game pretty cold, at least from what I've asked them. I think that's probably the important thing, but I have to say, from a personal standpoint, I hate Malga in my game. I want him out. I want him banned. Actually, I would delete him probably first, actually. He's probably my least favorite hero. Firstly, let's get that there. Secondly, why have we buffed 15 heroes in one patch, including some heroes who are already meta, like Ramatra, for example, and Mei, and then only nerfed one, and it's Baptiste. Baptiste was already at his lowest play rate of any patch when he was being replaced by Moira. It's his on his bloody birthday. Like, why?
We started off with this wonderfully well-articulated, intelligent analysis, and I was like, man, that's not what I asked for. Spectron's giving me like some real analysis here. I was worried I wasn't going to get any molding. Boy, was I wrong. He just saved the molding for me. He's just sinking. I understand. I understand. I feel it. I feel it in my bones, my friend. I feel it in my bones. All right. Oh, I guess that leads us to Preds. Who do we think is going to pull it out here today? I mean, we've talked about the adaptation. We've talked about, will we see the goat head, or do we just, see feet? Like, what kind of feet are on a Chimera? Is it lion's feet, or is it?
I think it's a lion. I think it's
lion's feet. It'll be the body of the lion. Wait,
okay,
I think both, actually.
I think so,
both. I think the front feet are lion and the back feet are goats. I'll need to double check on that.
Yeah, I must say, I think it's a half and half. Hey, we're learning something about mythology? I don't know. All right, sure. Oh, let's talk about our Preds. Spectrion's forehead. We got a 3-0 from Spectrion's forehead. Do we have any rhyme or reason behind this?
I'm very confident in the ability of the opponents of Oblivion to capitalize on their tilt. Obviously, from losing that final, we haven't really seen them lose too much. And I'm very confident that, especially with that C9, the mental is just going to be absolutely boom for them. So hopefully they could have reset in that time. However, only time will tell, of course. And it's more of a gut feeling than anything else.
Spectrion is betting on the giant chip on Oblivion's shoulder. Hunter, you also are showing us a 3-0. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm usually the map 5 guy, almost 100%, but Spectrion's similar scenario. Sometimes you just have the feeling that a map is just going to be a 3-0. And I think part of it does come from how things went against AFMT, which I would like to think you go into that knowing, hey, it's AFMT, we just got to take her for what it is if it's a 3-0. But still getting to the finals and losing, no matter what, that does something to a team. So I do think there'll be some way of affecting them. Meanwhile, we have Chimera, who barely missed out on the midseason playoffs, so I would imagine you'd be a tiny bit bitter about not making it in the first place and want to drive yourself farther to get into that top 4. But additionally, I'm just going to say, Gio, I just want you to know, I hope you're ready to get hit with the Dexatron airball gift, buddy.
Hey, it's not me that's gonna get hit with them. It's these things, all right? Because I decided after the disaster of all my previous Preds that I'm going to leave it up to the world, to the chaos of 2 D20s to decide this one for me. And they gave us a map 5 banger, a 3-2 to Oblivion. And I will say, I've predicted against Spectrum before and been right a recent land, so I want to say that I am pretty confident we are 1 for 1 right now.
I like how we ended up just on 2 sides of the same coin here. We've got Spectrum and Hunter have exact same Preds. Gio and I have the exact same Preds with the exact same method. I decided Gio's method was pretty darn good. You know what? I haven't had as good a look at these teams to where I felt super confident to give you an accurate pred. So I figured I would too leave it to the fates of the D20. And they told me the exact same thing. It looks like a map 5 victory for Oblivion here, y'all. I mean, I'm just saying. I can't argue with the dice. Can't argue with the dice.
If 4 dice are saying it, then something's up, right?
Yeah, it's got to be true. It's got to be true. All right, well, I guess there is nothing left but to send it on over to our match. Get it to our casters. It is Oblivion taking on EMC Chimera. We're going to send it over to Bowsy and Megalas here to take over.
Thank you very much, Bull Skunk. Good evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world, everybody. My name is Bowsy, and I'm joined here by Megalas. It's time for some Friday night Overwatch action in the EU tier with Oblivion versus EMC Chimera. And Megalas, we're in for one heck of a show here tonight.
Absolutely, you know, the deaths hit the nail on the head, right? Oblivion and EMC Chimera, if you look purely at the standings, they're right next to each other. 2 maps is all separating them. But Oblivion did just get to have that lovely, lovely run through the bracket of our midseason tournament. So I'm sure they have some sort of energy, whether it's good or bad. You know, only time's going to tell, Bowsy.
And also, EMC Chimera could be looking to try and harness that energy for their own. Again, they came very close to making that midseason bracket for their own. So obviously, they might be looking for some revenge. They want to show that they are one of the top teams in this tournament. So we'll have to see if they're able to respond in kind here. It's going to be one heck of an interesting match. And of course, the map pool is extremely unique here, Megalas, with our 3 of the maps that we're going to be seeing here in this series as well. We'll start off on Oasis before heading over to Paraiso and then to New Junk City, and if necessary, New Queen Street and Circuit Royale are on the agenda as well.
Yeah, I like to be calling this set map rotation. We have the new one because, you know, you have the double new in the back half of the series, hoping that we get there. I really hope we get to Circuit as well. You know, it's always a fun map, you know, regardless of meta and things like that. It's always just sort of been its own little thing. But, yeah, it's just a super interesting map pool now that we're back in the regular season, having to try to figure out, you know, exactly where we are meta-wise. You know, there's a lot of different places that we can go and things of that nature. But these maps, they can sort of lean one way or another, but who really knows?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see what the meta is going to evolve into. The Desk kind of hinted at it earlier, but there is a big shift in the meta. Of course, we did just get that mid-season patch about 3 days ago, which completely revitalized the game. 15 heroes were buffed. Baptiste was the only nerfed hero in that patch. So there's a lot of parity right now. And you know what they say, when Season 9 started, we were in a very high sense of parity. We're starting to rekindle that parity for our own here. So we'll see if these two teams have been able to kindle up their spirits, get the right knowledge under their belts, and are going to try to take the advantage in this matchup.
Absolutely, and, you know, having that momentum behind you, you know, coming off that tournament, the Deaths hit it on it as well as you just talked about it, right? It can really swing one of 2 ways for Oblivion. They can sort of be like, oh, we got second, they could be downtrodden, they could be upset at the fact that they lost that match, or they can sort of, you know, build on that momentum. They can just be happy, hey, look, we were in the midseason tournament, we were just a 2-2 team, we made it all the way to the finals, we showed what we can do, and we can just sort of keep that momentum going, you know? Both these teams sitting at 2-2, you're now looking towards the end of the season, making sure you can get some qualification there. I mean, obviously, these teams are going to be giving it their all because every match is going to matter from here on out.
100%. Those end of season playoffs are calling all of these teams names, and there's a chance that some of these teams are not going to be able to make those playoffs. So it's all on the line at this point. You have to perform to your absolute peak, or else you're not playing in those end of season playoffs at a chance for a championship. So it's going to be all on these teams to keep themselves ready and willing for the rest of the regular season here at Megalas. As we're waiting for the teams to load into the lobby here. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how these two teams are going to duel out and which one is going to be coming out on top at the end.
Yeah, and, you know, just sort of going back towards the meta discussion, it's going to be super interesting, right? There's been all of the talk of Malga and what he can do. It's sort of flashes of the start of Season 8 when he came into the competitive scene, right? It was just, you know, a super powerful hero. You can't really break through him, and while Malga is dominant, it does force, you know, your team to play around you in a certain way. Pretty much Kiriko is going to be a must a lot of the time simply because of that cleansing Suzu that she has to clear any negative effects from Mauga. That way he can continue to, go forward, deal that damage as he needs to. It's going to be super crucial at all times. And sort of the rest of the team, even if the Mauga's on your side and doing great, there's still just so much pressure and stuff that has to go with playing with him in order to make sure that comp is executed properly. So these teams really got to make sure their synergy is in check if they're going to be running out on this sort of new meta that we're seeing.
And not to mention, other teams have been able to exploit this Mauga composition if the team is not familiar with the composition. So Mauga still has the potential to not be meta. You could see other meta picks like Ramattra or Junker Queen in the matchup. So it's going to be interesting to see what these two teams are going to try to pull out. Yes, I am totally on Copium here. Nonetheless, though, we'll have to see if these two teams are going to pull out that Mauga composition. The Des mentioned earlier, neither of these teams have scrimmed on the new patch, so maybe they're not as familiar with the Mauga composition, and they might want to try to play it safe. They might want to try to run a Ramattra composition or a Junker Queen composition because that's what they're more comfortable with, especially after all the nerfs and especially after this patch has come in. So we'll have to see what the move is going to be from either of these teams, if we're going to be seeing the new or we're going to be seeing shades of the old.
I mean, you can see shades of the old, but to sort of go out on a branch and start theory crafting here for a minute, a hero I absolutely love and adore that I think could use some more screen time at all times is Orisa. And if we're looking at shades of old with Junker Queen and Ramattra, I mean, pretty much any time Junker Queen came out towards the back half of the midseason tournament, as well as you're starting to see it more and more in ranked, Orisa has really solidified herself as a phenomenal Junker Queen counter, just being able to mitigate anything that a queen wants to do, and she can do it to Ramattra to a certain extent. Obviously, Annihilation is still a massive looming threat of a problem, but Orisa, she can definitely stand tall against some of these brawl tanks and dish it out just as equally. So it's a sort of off-meta little niche that sort of can then involve a little bit of a swapping game where people are going back and forth with counter picks. But I feel like I would not be surprised to see, potentially some Orisa thrown into the mix as well. And we keep talking about the tanks so much simply because tanks really do build the composition around the rest of their team in Overwatch 2. It determines what supports you have to play to keep your tanks in the fight, as well as, what DPS are going to be able to find the most value.
Yeah, definitely. The tank is a very crucial role. It's not just something that's supposed to be in the front of the line. It's supposed to be the one that sets up the position and gets everything in order here. So it's going to be interesting to see what these tanks are going to be running. We're going to be jumping over to a 2-minute break while we wait for these two teams to get ready into the lobby. And when we return, we'll hopefully be starting up this series. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, from that quick break. We now have both teams assembled in the lobby here, and we are ready to begin our matchup today between Oblivion and EMC Chimera. Bounty once again joined here by Megalas, and we're about to get into the lobby here, starting off with our first map. As a reminder, Oasis is the first map in the series.
Yeah, Oasis, you know, always a fun one, not one of the first ones you think of when it comes to those control points, of course. But, you know, you got a little bit of a different feel for each of the points, you know, especially when you're thinking university, you have those indoors as well as that access to the high ground. I always think of it as left side, even though, you know, you can come out and have it on the right side depending on your spawn room. And who can ever forget the giant hole in the middle? You have, oh my goodness, why can I not remember the name of the sub-map with the cars?
That's City Center.
That's City Center. See, listen, it's been a minute with Oasis, but hey, listen, you have the cars, you have the fun little jump pad. Who doesn't have fun with a jump pad? You know, it's absolutely just a fun little thing, a great way to get to high ground and just make it exotic for you. But yeah, it's just super interesting, sort of the different things you can roll out on. But Oasis has never really had its own meta. It's not like a Lijiang situation where Brawl has always reigned supreme regardless of what's going on. You know, Oasis definitely just sort of leans itself towards whatever the meta of the game is at the time. So I don't think there's any niche picks you're going to see coming out from either of these teams in terms of just trying to take advantage of the map geometry or anything. It truly is just going to be what these teams think is best in the meta right now.
Yeah, the only thing that probably is cemented in Oasis is on University. Brawl is probably the strongest. It typically is the strongest, but even then, we've seen cracks in the foundation where other compositions have been able to reign supreme on every sort of map on Oasis, so anything goes. You could run a comfort pick and be able to make it work here on Oasis, so it's going to be interesting to see what these two teams are going to run on this map, which one's going to get the better of the other, and if any sort of these new compositions that the new meta has introduced are put into effect here. It's definitely going to be an interesting situation, and we'll have to see what the outcome is going to be at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you know, we keep talking about meta and stuff like that, but as we said as well, and the desk highlighted, these teams didn't scrim at all, right? So there's a potential that they could just forsake any sort of meta and just sort of start throwing things at the wall to really see what sticks. And that's always kind of my favorite matches of Overwatch, because you'll see adaptation and learning happen on the fly. And, you know, that's what you really need at the highest levels, right? You need to be able to adapt, be able to change yourself to sort of match your opponent, you know, not just with your hero selections, but changing your strategies and things of that nature, how you want to approach points. It truly can all make a difference at the end of the day. But believe it or not, after this long-winded delay, we are actually seeing Oasis pop up here. At least we are. You'll see it in just a moment. There it is. See?
There you go.
Beautiful views of the cars.
Yeah, beautiful views of the cars. Hopefully one of them does not hit that camera and accidentally knocks it all the way to the other end of the world here, as we're starting off on Oasis City Center to begin our series here. Of course, the one that Megalas mentioned has that jump pad, has these cars. A very interesting map. You love to use that jump pad, obviously, Megalas.
Hey, listen, I don't know what you're trying to imply here, but I will gladly take those charges. You know, it's a fun little thing. Just a great way to get to high ground instead of a boring little staircase or something like that you'd see on other maps. But, you know, there's other ways to get to the high ground if you think about it, right? Especially with the EMC Chimera is rolling out on with this Winston composition. You know, they're just going to be able to dive right up onto high ground super effectively, super fast, and hold the space there. So that's going to be their goal, but this dive comp is going to have to play fast because Oblivion, they're on the Mauga hero.
Yep, and you already get that first kill here onto that Moira here if you are the side of Oblivion. Jacko getting that final kill, so EMC Chimera have to rely on MCG to get all their heals, and that's not going to be able to save Zombie or Ekash in the end of the day. Oblivion able to clean up the point here for now. Ton Makita just trying to get some little poke potential. Will eventually get hit by a Hellfire shotgun to the head as Oblivion take the point.
And Ekash, the saddest swap you will ever see is someone just deciding that Mauga is the mirror, is what must occur. But, you know, it's just the nature of the game right now. And so being able to swap that quickly, lose the first fight, you're going to want to come back in here. Neither team really having a crazy advantage yet, so it'll be interesting to see where it comes from.
And now both Maugas hitting each other, pointing and clicking at each other like a point-and-click adventure game, both using those cardiac overdrives as well. waiting for the perfect potential to try and find this opening pick. They're both burning at the seams, but now Lemon realizes that there is an off angle. Zombie caught off on the wrong side of the world. Nyx is able to get the final kill onto them. Once again, the cardiac overdrive's used, and the EMP comes out from Nyx and doesn't land onto any members. Akash does die, however, at the end, and Oblivion continuing to steamroll this point.
Yeah, and, you know, just trading that EMP, you were able to build it up super effectively. So now heading on into the next fight, there's a lot of tools that you're going to obviously want to look out for, but Oblivion has the ability to just sort of play this next fight extremely fast, get in people's face with Jacko's Kitsune Rush, and, you know, even throw Gold's Death Blossom into the mix as well. But that's a great way to start for the EMC Chimera.
Yeah, Ton Makita already dead. They will trade their life here for Maya on that Lucio, but now the Gold's out of the picture as well. There's an opportunity here for the side of Chimera to push in. Kitsune Rush is invested from Jacko, so the side of EMC Chimera has to be careful here. Akash looking for the opening here, as now here comes that Kitsune Rush from Elemento, and the cage fight used by Lemon, but no one is caught inside of it, as now still looking for an advantage here is EMC Chimera, but finally Lemon will be burnt to the ground. Zombie, however, is traded, so it's not all easy going here for the side of Chimera as they're looking for the rest of these picks, and they finally be able to get them and get the points.
Yeah, Death Blossom just kind of being thrown in as a little extra tool, but I think the thing I want to point out from that fight was Mia pooping Ekash away as Lemon dropped that cage fight, so just making it so the enemy Malga was not trapped up as they wanted to be. But yeah, so now EMC Chimera, after giving up 90%, is going to be able to get in control of the point here, and they have some pretty good ultimates to be able to sort of rotate effectively here, right? As long as they don't have to overinvest into one fight, they should be able to sort of mirror some point percentage.
Kaz looking for that cage fight. They're able to catch their opposition on Lemon, being able to get that Malga stuck in a hole, and they're end up going to be burned down here. Oh, Zombie also uses Overclock, trying to burn down Maya in the back, but all they're going to do is just separate the members of Oblivion, send them packing back to the spawn door.
Yep, and so now you have to look towards this next fight here, as it will just be a stagger onto Mia. And, you know, the worry was investing too heavily. EMC Chimera had to use cage fight and the overclock, so now Tomikita gonna have to potentially try to find some huge value with this pulse bomb here, or they're gonna have to just play it slow, wait for Elemental to get this Kitsune Rush online as their win condition. But seems like they've spotted out where Oblivion wants to be.
Colin Makita, as you mentioned, going for this pulse bomb, currently burning down Lemon, trying to force out abilities, as here comes a Kitsune Rush from Elemento, but Ekash just burned out by Nyx in the meanwhile. This pulse bomb has to be big, and it's not even going to happen. Nyx able to get the kill onto that Tracer before they're able to unleash it, as now the point is going to flip over here, and EMC Chimera have to try and touch before it slips over to 99.
Yeah, beginning a touch is going to be rough, but, you know, there's a phenomenal entry pick, but there's just too much damage. There's going to be an EMP on re-entry here. It's going to be brutal.
The EMP comes on and lands on the Ekash, and they are burnt to the seams. 1 second, and you are gone if you are that Malga for the side of EMC Chimera. Overtime is still burning as Ton Makita on this Tracer is looking for value. Still has this Pulse Bomb and lands a beautiful stick into Maya to get rid of the Lucio. However, EMC Chimera now still looking worse for wear. Lemon trying to burn down this Kiriko of Elemento. Going to be forcing them off the point, and with nobody there to touch, it's going to be Oblivion being able to cap the point 100-74.
Yeah, and, you know, that can kind of be attributed to EMC Chimera. They started out on that dive comp, and while they switched, you know, after just one fight, you know, when Oblivion's able to build up percentage like they were able to just sort of wait until they had all of their ultimates online and then just sort of dump them all in onto EMC Chimera when there was just no chance of a response. So now potentially starting out on the Malga mirror here is going to be super crucial for both of these teams to sort of get a leg up, because, you know, you don't ever want to just sort of throw away a round you don't have to, right? Being able to fight for every single map in the series is important, and it seems like we are sticking with a raw mirror here just besides... Oh, I changed my... never mind. Gold is messing with me. So people are deciding whether or not they're going Reaper. It is confusing me. I'm lost.
As now the two teams making their way out, it's Sommer versus Reaper. The only differences between these two Malga compositions here. Oblivion trying to take control of the high ground, but EMC Chimera are a full unit up on that high ground. Lemon, unfortunately, not able to sustain through it. They'll die to the hands of that Reaper. However, Oblivion answer back. They get rid of MCG and Kaz here. So EMC Chimera down their Lucio and down their Malga tank pick. Now next trying to push forward, trying to find these early kills here on this Sommer, but right now it's Oblivion just trying to keep EMC Chimera at bay and try to take the point for their own, as a Kaz and MCG running back into the fight, but Oblivion in control at the moment.
And so now having to look forward towards this next fight, exactly what the plan is here. As it's just going to be the rest of Chimera just sort of being willing to hold this high ground for now, find their advantage.
Zombie's able to get the kill onto Jacko, however, so Oblivion are now down their main support, but that's not anything considering the EMC Chimera once again down a Cash and MCG. It may not matter. Lemon is the last person left in this engage. They're trying to hold it together here on the Malga, but eventually they're going to have to try and back up. Now that they're the last recruit standing, they use that cardiac overdrive, but it's nothing compared to the Reaper character.
Yeah, the Reaper guy, he has 2 shotguns. I believe the meme is actually Reaper Friday, so, you know, it kind of fits in well here with the Friday night Overwatch we have going on. But, yeah, just being able to find insane value there. So now EMC Chimera has to sort of piece together what else they want it, what else they need to do for this defense, right? And it's probably going to be this overclock from Zombie is going to be the first tool expended. You're going to want to watch out for it.
Zombie looking for this overclock. On the high ground, getting burnt down, however, drops extremely low to 1 health before the healing Hanafunas are able to connect onto them to keep them up in the moment. Mia tries to dive on top of them, but almost kills them, gets themselves killed in the act. Lemon tries to use the cage fight, but is canceled out by Ton Makita as all the picks are red in the kill feed, and EMC Chimera continue their hold of this objective.
Yeah, Oblivion's not going into the night just yet, though. Some crucial picks coming out from their DPS. And finally, for the first time in the series, we have a full-scale mirror with Nyx going over to the Reaper now. So it's just going to be sort of this back and forth, right? Potentially putting pressure on both of the Malgas.
EMC Chimera trying to keep themselves alive here. Here comes the cage fight from Ekaj. It will unfortunately get burnt down as with their own body. Now Oblivion making their way forward here. This continuous from Jacko, helping them sustain and helping them push right back onto the section to claim it for their own once they deal with these stragglers.
And so now with that flip going in Oblivion's favor and realizing they didn't have to invest all too heavily into that one, of course, you know, that's sort of a subjective statement depending on how you see it with how much EMC Chimera used to just ultimately lose that one. But having gold with this overclock is going to be massive, except for the fact that there's a sound barrier for both sides that is going to be super crucial in keeping these teams sustained and healthy through this one.
Here comes that overclock from Gold. So far, MCG has been hesitant to pull the trigger on that beat, but now they're going to finally unleash it to the rest of their team here as EMC Chimera start capping up the progress. Maya's able to get on their sound barrier, but Nyx is caught out. They weren't caught by the barrier in time, but it doesn't matter. Gold's found 2 on the sideline, looking for a third onto a Cash, as they're going to be helping clean up this point for Oblivion once more.
Yeah, nobody looking towards the Sojourn that's just putting rails into everybody's head. It's very odd how much space Gold had to work with, but hey, you know, you have skilled players and Gold will gladly take all of those opportunities and make them work here as Oblivion, you know, now piecing together another chance to take this second round here. And they have a pretty good shot to do it. Lemon's going to be coming up towards that cage fight, probably going to be able to isolate Ekash once more. It's just going to be about finding the value, as this could even be final fight.
Chimera has to use these abilities as best as they can. They do have this Death Blossom from Tom Makita, but here comes the cage fight from Lemon, keeping them all trapped within this area. It doesn't matter. Here comes that Death Blossom and the overclock from Zombie as well, finding 2 in this fight, cleaning up the objective 1 by 1, and Oblivion at overtime, but EMC Chimera take it back.
Yeah, I mean, Lemon sort of dropped that cage fight there, and Tomikita decided to use the fact that everybody was stuck in an enclosed space to their advantage, dropping that Death Blossom to secure the damage, and Zombie's overclock, of course, doing extra help as well, getting those final blows. So now, heading towards actual guaranteed final fight, it's going to be mirrored Kitsune rushes as well as Ekash's own cage fight.
Oh, but Ekash didn't even able to unleash the cage fight. They are burned down by Gold before they're able to unleash it. Nyx finds 2 with the Death Blossom as well as Oblivion cleaning up these picks 1 by 1. Ton Makita is able to answer back and get a kill, and now MCG, the last one on the point, trying to stall it out. They'll eventually get hit by a kunai here. Oblivion able to flip the point. Overtime triggered for both teams as EMC Chimera trying to run back into this engage. Ekaj is back with the cage fight. They also have Elemento keeping them alive here on this Kiriko for the moment. So far, it's just been Oblivion trying to clean up these picks, but EMC Chimera are still alive. As I say that, Ekaj hit by the Reaper from the sidelines, as still EMC Chimera looking for an advantage. This overclock from Gold is nothing more than a cherry topper to secure Oblivion, the first map in the series.
Yeah, very back and forth map, but Oblivion able to lock it up without even having to go to a round 3. Some interesting ult cycling that had to occur for both of these squads here. But yeah, Oblivion, they really just kind of had it figured out there for the time being. And just look at this. it's obvious. It's very interesting to have this play from the Malga's perspective when you clearly see the Sojourn just hitting so much damage with the rails. But yeah, it just means that Oblivion, they clearly are able to, bounce back after that mid-season final loss, and they still have their wits about them. But EMC Chimera, they've definitely been able to sort of go toe-to-toe so far, and heading forward into this series, if we're going to continue to see this Malga mirror, it's going to be interesting to see if EMC Chimera can sort of come up with the goods and really make sure it's in their favor.
Yeah, definitely. EMC Chimera have some positive attributes to them, but I mean, it's going to be difficult considering you look at the stats here, and I don't think 10 deaths on a Malga is something that you really want to be bragging about, Mega Last. But Ekaz, unfortunately, just not seeming to be comfortable on this Malga composition compared to Lemon, so we'll have to see if it changes as the scope of the match continues here. But I also want to highlight the fact that of all the deaths on the side of Oblivion, Jacko has 2 single deaths. That Kiriko needs to die more.
I was gonna say, yes, Ekaz, I'll give a little bit of defense. One of those deaths was Winston. Do we really count that? Let's be honest. But yeah, the Kiriko only having 2 deaths is really the thing that needs to be highlighted here, because it means that Jacko was staying alive in these fights, putting out damage, putting out healing. That means that you're putting out even more cleansing Suzus and things of that nature. It's just going to be an absolute, insane the amount of value you can provide when you're not dying at all. This Kiriko clearly is not being pressured enough right now, and that's going to be potentially a focusing point that EMC Chimera needs to come up with, putting some pressure onto this Kiriko, not letting her do whatever she wants.
Yeah, definitely. That Kiriko being able to get that value, as you mentioned, they didn't have as much heals as their opposing Kiriko, but they almost had double the damage. Those kunais making a difference in the aftermath, so it's good to keep your Kiriko alive. An alive Kiriko is a deadly Kiriko, and that was the case there for Jacko on the side of Oblivion. But now we're heading over to an entirely different map. We just went over to Oasis, which was a map that can tend to brawl sometimes. Now we're heading to Paraiso. And this is a map that has a lot more dive-centric or poke-centric compositions. Malga could still work here. We've been able to see people run Malga in ranked on this map, but it'll be interesting to see what these 2 teams decide to run here in the competitive Overwatch setting here. Will we see Malga again, or will we see some different styles?
And I think it's one of those things that it'll probably change as we go throughout the map, right? Point A, there's so much high ground, you can sort of almost get away with it. You can resort to some other options like you were talking about with that poke, that Sigma coming in and things of that nature. But once you start knocking towards street phase, your tank pretty much is going to have to be on the low ground 24/7. You might as well just throw a Malga into the mix. You have the survivability, you have the damage output to be a threat by yourself just down on that cart. And like I said, the further this payload is going to go throughout the map, the better it's going to be for Malga. And so that's going to be something that's definitely interesting to watch out for. Would not mind seeing some other tanks thrown into the mix. We talked about, the Sigma, the poke compositions, especially on point A, could be very powerful with all of that high ground sort of surrounding the point, forcing the offensive team to try to either find a way up to that high ground or mitigate the damage long enough to get some cap percentage going. But it'll be an interesting situation.
Yeah, the sustainability of a tank can matter, as you mentioned. And Malga, from what I saw on a post earlier today, Malga has the damage of a Zarya, the health of a Roadhog, the shout of a Junker Queen, and the healing of a Junker Queen, and the charge of a Reinhardt. He's basically 4 tanks in one, and he can do every one of their jobs to absolute peak. So Malga's a very strong tank. That being said, we'll see if these 2 teams are willing to try something else for this map here as we are loading into Paraiso, our second map of the series, and we'll see what these 2 teams are going to plan here on their attack and defense respectively to try and gain an advantage on the other.
Yeah, and it's always super interesting sort of what teams like to cook up, offensive team that we always sort of just don't think about them much because they're in the offensive spawn. They can change, they can pick silly heroes just to look funny. But it seems like for the defense starting out here, Oblivion is going to be on the Malga, and some interesting DPS to sort of pair with it, right? You're going to have Gold head over to the Cassidy, getting that awful Cowboy Bebop skin. No offense, Blizzard, but geez Louise, put his hat back on. And Nyx on the Symmetra, rising sort of DPS from this patch, got a lot of good buffs. and to sort of amplify her damage output, as well as the turrets. It's just a nice way to slow people down, apply some point pressure when you don't necessarily have to even be on the point. But EMC Chimera, on the other hand, sticking with that Malga mirror, gonna go ahead and actually have the Tracer Sojourn locked up here, and look at this TP forward. That's so aggressive from Oblivion. I love it.
Oblivion going for the spawn hold strategy. That teleporter, however, can only stay alive for so long, and once it's gone, you're gone as well. And Jacko's also out of the picture here, so Oblivion are now down their main support in this fight. Those 2 deaths for Jacko now increased by 50% in this single map alone here. EMC Chimera now have an opportunity to continue pushing forward. They're looking for these crucial pills of cash, getting rid of Nyx, and Lemon is quick to follow. And just as quickly as they were able to get that first kill, they're able to get themselves on the objective.
Yeah, the thing with that spawn forward strategy from Oblivion is you have to teleport back. You can't stay there. They chose to just kind of wait it out just a little too long, and they were taken advantage of by EMC Chimera, who just sent somebody to point, apply pressure there, split the focus. So now this payload is going to get rolling here, and Oblivion has had to make some swaps back over to the Sombra now.
They also switch over to the Reaper here for gold, so we'll see if that makes the difference here, as there's already so much damage that Oblivion are trying to put into the side of EMC Chimera as the cart continues rolling. So far, the 2 teams meeting up in this stairway, looking for the potential to try and find one another in the combat phase. But so far, only a little bit of blood, no kill spotted thus far, until Oblivion make this aggressive rotation to go over to the cart and try to hold it for their own.
Yeah, so it is just this aggressive back and forth by the Kitsunes.
Kitsune used from Elemento, as is the overclock from Zombie. Now Ikash going all the way to the back line, has to reload those chain guns, but it's still going to be burning down the rest of the field. And EMC Chimera continuing to steamroll this card through Parejo.
Yes, indeed, potentially with another stacker pick here onto Jacko. But it seems like that Kiriko was able to escape in time. Both teams using overclock there, and EMC Chimera getting the better of it. So now it's slight advantage to Oblivion. They're going to be able to have the Kitsune rush engage, as you're seeing now.
And Kitsune Rush comes out from Jacko. Oblivion now have an opportunity to hold. The EMC Chimera is just completely back out of the fight. They're gone. They're waiting for the next fight in this Kitsune Rush to expire before they push in again.
Yeah, smart to just sort of take the space, not even attempt to fight it. So now the teams are back even, 3 ults apiece is really what you're going to be looking at.
Cage fight comes out here from Lemon. The pulse bomb from Psychoka is thrown in. So is the EMP from Nyx. It's looking like goats here, with every single ultimate flying left and right. But eventually the picks will fall. Both Malgas now taken out of the equation. MCG is also dead, but so is Maya. It is literally back and forth. There is a pick happening on the opposite side every single second. But eventually the field will be silenced, and it's going to be EMC Chimera having to reset.
Yeah, Psychoka got 3 in that fight on Tracer, but unfortunately it just was not enough. You know, trying to be the hero player, and Tracer allows you to do that, but it just too much damage. Oblivion had their close spawns on the defense working in their favor, so now EMC Chimera are going to have to find another way back into this one and look for some sort of advantage. Could potentially be off of Elemental's Kitsune Rush. You know, that's building up rather quickly. Jacko won't be able to match in time for Elemental to throw this one out.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how they approach this high ground that Oblivion are holding, because you can't really get to that high ground unless you go all the way around. Kitsune Rush used here from Elemento as EMC Chimera start making their engage. Lemon getting so much pressure built in, but Gold is able to get the best of their adversary on the Sojourn. Zombie taken out of the fight immediately. The pulse bomb from Psychoka is a whiff. They're hit with an overclock shot as well, and it's another retreat here for Chimera, now with 2 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock remaining.
Yeah, and Gold being able to get that overclock online was super massive, right? Not just in terms of taking out both of those DPS, but it sort of mitigated the value of Elemental's Kitsune Rush. They weren't able to push in with it. They weren't able to stay aggressive. So now EMC Chimera sent reeling a few defensive fights in a row, and you know, you might have hit the nail on the head. They have to find a way to try to take this high ground reliably.
Trying to take the high ground, and Cash going for the rush all the way over to the opposing high ground. That's one way to take the opposing high ground away from your opposition here, as now EMC Chimera have this high ground for their own. Oblivion have to push up through the stairway in order to get it back for their own here, but still just a poking phase. Zombie now using the overclock, looking for these crucial pills, almost gets rid of Gold to start off, but now Lemon there to contest the cart. The Kitsune Rush used from Jacko as well, so Oblivion now have the sustainability to keep this push alive. Here comes the cage fight from EMC Chimera, but it's a 4-man EMP coming out from Nyx, landing onto almost every single member, and the cleanup is all there. Gold finding 2, and EMC Chimera back to the drawing board for them.
just a perfect EMP coming out from Nyx there. And sure, they die at the end of the fight, but the defensive spawns, I mean, there's only so much that these DPS players can do, right? They're not going to be able to get back in before Oblivions respawned. And not only was it EMP on the 4 to apply that extra damage to get the kills, but it was also just taking ECAJ's cage fight out.
Speaking of cage fights, Lemon uses their own here, and already MCG caught in the cage. They're killed out as well. Gold finding 2, finding 3. Gold popping up, using the overclock as well to help clean up the field for the side of Oblivion.
I would want that overclock back. You already killed 3. You got the highlight gold. You didn't need it, but hey, you know, it works out for you this time around, but that's not going to work out. Jacko, you know, we talked about how little this Kiriko died, but, you know, going down like that is going to be massive for EMC Chimera to walk in here.
Oblivion looking to try and sustain here without that Kiriko, as now the rest of EMC Chimera pushing forward. MCG is brought out of the fight, but now Elemento has that Kitsune Rush to keep the team alive. Lemon on this Malga just trying to sustain, keep themselves alive. They're going to get hit by a lot of damage pumping into them. I'm pretty sure that was 400 health gone in one frame. At the end of the day, though, EMC Chimera are entering Club Synesthesia.
Yes, indeed, getting some extra time on the clock for their troubles, and they didn't have to throw a whole heck of a lot into that one. Just pulse bombing Kitsune Rush, and with how consistently both of these Kirikos have been building it, you know, you're kind of willing to just invest that. So now you're going to be coming up towards another cage fight from ECAJ, as well as this overclock, and, you know, Oblivion on the other side, they don't really have a lot to mirror just yet. Next should be getting towards that EMP, but probably going to be, again, holding it to try to stop ECAJ's cage fight from getting too much value.
It's going to be on MCG's beat to try and counter that EMP if it does come out, as EMC Chimera are met with Oblivion in their face. Oblivion just trying to take every single inch of space that they are given, as now EMC Chimera meets them right at the cart. Zombie looking for these early picks here on the Sojourn, but now ECAJ gets the kill onto Lemon. They do die for their efforts after using the cage fight, which, I mean, acts as a shield in this sort of instance, as EMC Chimera are just keeping Oblivion at bay and keeping them back, and the Kitsune Rush from Jacko was also used as well.
Yeah, and so now it's 4v4, both teams lacking a tank, but with where the cart is, you know, ECAJ, you already see him back in the fight, and it's going to be crucial with how aggressive this Malga is in taking the high ground.
4-man EMP once again from Nyx. 2 of them are canceled out by the Cleansing Susan, but MCG, unfortunately, is killed in the act. Zombie, however, answers back. They get the kill on the Gold. Still looking for more here with this railgun. They almost get rid of Maya as well, but still EMC Chimera still moving that cart through the club here, as actually it's been Psychoka on that Tracer, just moving the cart out of line of sight, but now losing that pulse bomb onto the railgun of Lemon. The beat comes out from Maya, as does this cage fight from Lemon, catching on to almost every single member of EMC Chimera, but they're not going to be able to live to get all the kills. Overclock as well coming out here from Zombie, cleaning up the field here as EMC Chimera continue to find these crucial kills and continue moving this cart.
I feel so bad for Zombie, because I think we've all been there in that situation where you're just in the face of a Sombra. The Sombra does a little bit of AD strafe with a submachine gun in your face. But Oblivion, you know, now having to set up a defensive fight here in overtime, they're going to have the Kitsune Rush coming online, and that should be able to build towards a huge defensive advantage for them to stop this cart.
Kitsune Rush comes out from Jacko, and already a good start for Oblivion, as Gold finds Psychoka, and ECAJ is taken out of the fight as well. Now Oblivion continuing to hold their Gold, looking for anything with this overclock. They find Zombie in the hut. Nobody is safe from the clutches of Gold, as Oblivion stopped that cart right outside of point number 3.
Solid push, though, coming out from EMC Chimera. You're going to have to be happy with that. You didn't get the full cap, but you got the cart, you know, pretty damn far. And as long as, you know, you don't make a costly mistake like Oblivion did at the start of their defense, sort of throwing it all away for a Symmetra teleporter, then chances are you might be able to do some pretty solid whittling of this time bank and get yourself a good defensive hold to win this map. So it is going to be still a tall ask, though, because Oblivion, I mean, they've had their players popping off left, right, and center. We've seen Nyx on the Sombra, phenomenally timed EMPs, as well as Gold on the Sojourn, you know, not even needing the overclock to get these rail kills consistently. So it's always massive to see when your DPS are popping off at this level.
Yeah, right now Gold is 1 kill away from doubling the closest person to the rest of their team in terms of final blows. They're currently at 11 final blows in this matchup right now. The closest person to them is Jacko with 6. So that tells you just the impact of Gold that Gold has been able to have in this matchup here on the Sojourn. We'll see if they're able to keep it up here on this attack round for the side, attack round for the side of Oblivion. So It's definitely going to be an interesting task. EMC Chimera have an opportunity, though. They were able to get that cart very far in the map. It's just a matter of trying to hold it outside of... It's a matter of just trying to hold it away there.
Yeah, and, it's actually super interesting is, we have some interesting typing in the map chat. They're totally both playing Baptiste. I swear to you, they're not lying to each other openly about being on the Kiriko. But Kiriko, it's a necessary thing. And the Symmetra TP from Oblivion. What in the tarnation?
Yeah, I think Oblivion are starting to fall in love here with the Symmetra. Unfortunately, that love is getting crushed as Zombie's able to get the kill onto the Symmetra to start off. Jacko once again is dead, and Psychoka is raining havoc on this Tracer once again, helping clean up the field for Chimera early in this fight.
Something's telling me this Symmetra love may be a tad bit one-sided, as this is two Symmetra plays that have not worked out in Oblivion's favor, and you're seeing again Nyx insta-swap over onto the Genji, though, and Gold for the time being is at least keeping on the Bastion. So this will be, as I say it, though, finally switching over to the Soldier 76, though. So we're substituting those railguns. Gold is just switching heroes. There's a hit scan is being played. I don't know which one it is. Gold is just switching heroes.
Yeah, Gold did this a lot in our first round. We saw them play 3 or 4 different heroes on the first round. So right now they're just deciding what the heck to switch to. They decided to go back over to the Railgun machine and go over to that Sojourn. As now the push comes in here from Oblivion without their Sojourn nonetheless, but they're still trying to make it engage. But what a stomp from Lemon right into the back line. It may not matter because Maya is taken out of the fight immediately here. The speed boost gone here for the side of Oblivion. But meanwhile, EMC Chimera are down 2. We cash an MCG taken out. So now Oblivion have an opportunity to start taking a foothold on this objective.
Yeah, while we were talking about Gold sitting in the spawn room and switching over and over, we saw Oblivion sort of rotating properly, taking the staircase, taking the high ground away, and using it to their advantage. So now Psychoka gonna have to be the one to touch here if EMC Chimera wants it.
Here comes EMC Chimera with the push here. Zombie uses the overclock to try and pump in the damage, and they're able to get rid of Jacko in the middle of the engage, who has the only ultimate up for Oblivion right now. And now all the kills going red in the kill feed. Chimera able to stop that point from ticking over to 100%.
And what's amazing about that is it was just the DPS of ults invested, right? You didn't have to throw too much into it. You still have both your spoiled ults and your cage fight, heading forward here as you've burnt the first 2 minutes off the clock. Phenomenal things here, but Oblivion, they're finally building towards ults of their own here, and they're looking to invest, probably starting with Jacko's Kitsune Rush as a way to get in.
Oblivion on the point, using the cage fight here. He responds in kind as every ult flying left and right on the field. Nyx, however, is dead. They used the blade, but weren't able to get anything with it as Psychoka burns them down. Not for their own life, however, as the beats down invested for Maya to keep the rest of Oblivion sustained in this objective. MCG hunting down Gold here on this Soldier, knowing it's the crucial pick, but they're unable to get the final blow. Gold, with one health to the name, stays alive, and Oblivion now cleaning up the remains of the field and taking this objective for their own.
And it's so tragic because if MCG gets that pick, he's a hero, but it just seems as though it was not in the cards there. Gold able to find the damage in the end, and that's going to unlock the point here for Oblivion. Not as fast of a time bank as EMC Chimera had, but still plenty of time to work with here as you're starting to head through the streets phase. And we're seeing Nyx over to the Widowmaker now. This could provide a bit of a surprise angle, a potential one-shot that nobody's really expecting just yet here on the side of Chimera.
Definitely interesting to see what this Widowmaker can do as Oblivion setting up in this top left room, trying to keep EMC Chimera at bay. Gold almost gets their head taken off before the fight even begins, as Zombie was able to get a crucial railgun shot into that Sojourn, but they're able to run away with their life. As it's still a poking phase. Psychoka looking for some value, but they're forced to recall as they're just getting hit with those chain guns one too many times. And still Oblivion moving this card basically uncontested through the streets of Paraiso.
Yeah, the cart just moving ever forward, but you're almost kind of okay with it for the defense because you're able to do things like that, take Nyx out of the fight with Psychoka in the back line.
Yeah, the benefit of a Widow, you can hit one-shots. The disbenefit is that there's a Tracer on the enemy team, and Psychoka can one-clip you in basically 2 seconds. Cage fight use here from Mikaz as well to just keep the rest of Oblivion centered around them, and now it's a hold here from the side of Chimera being able to get these kills and keep the rest of Oblivion at bay, and that is a cage fight from Lemon that I think you probably want back.
I mean, yeah, potentially here you're looking for Gold to try to follow up on it, but I don't know exactly what you're expecting here. Now it's just going to be this massive peel attempt coming out from Oblivion to not get staggered, but Zombie invested overclock. Everybody's going to click the Q button, it seems, today. Not really sure about these ultimates, but Oblivion at least has some extra ults to spare, right? They pretty much have everything online besides that cage fight they just threw away. So that is the slight advantage they have over EMC Chimera, who's now lacking that Sojourn ultimate. So it's going to be interesting, probably going to want to look towards where these sound barriers are timed and what they're going to counter to try to keep these teams in the fight.
EMC Chimera continuing to hold up on this high ground. Oblivion pushing toward the cart, trying to round it toward those final two corners, toward Club Synesthesia. But now Oblivion need to try to find the advantage where they can. Here comes the Casino Rush from Elemento, answered back with Jacko in their own. So far, ultimate flying left and right. That's 5 ultimates popped in the last 2 seconds here, as Oblivion still looking for these kills. Gold does not get the better of their adversary. They're killed out by Zombie, but a Cash is removed from the fight as well. Lemon now the sole Malga standing, looking for the kills here with these chain guns as Oblivion continue pushing this car forward. But now Nyx is gone from the equation as well. Zombie has been able to do wondrous things on the Sojourn, and now with 60 seconds left and Jacko out of the picture, Oblivion are forced to retreat again.
And you really saw the desperation from Lemon there, right? Just constantly looking to the high ground, swinging those guns, trying to figure out something to shoot at, and everybody on the EMC Chimera was just able to sort of hide, do poke damage from around corners, and take advantage of the fact that the Malga couldn't hone in on them and take those individual 1v1 duels. So now, dipping below 30 seconds, potential final fight scenario, depending on how it goes, EMC Chimera, they have the tools to potentially lock this one up with their DPS ultimate.
The only thing Oblivion have is that cage fight, so it has to come to use, but Psychoka already gets rid of gold before the fight even begins. Now here comes the cage fight from the Kaz, locking Mia and the rest of Oblivion in this small room, and they're not long for the world in that room. The overclock from Zombie as well used to clean it up, and with 10 seconds left, Oblivion may have a chance to try and touch one more time, but that's all they're gonna get.
Yeah, but almost like it's better to just try to have this last touch, right? It's probably going to be Tracer coming in to blink in time, but already losing Jacko is rough. Lemon's going to be the person you want to get back to this cart with the cage fight.
Lemon has that cage fight, as you mentioned. They use the cage fight outside of the cart, trapping some members of EMC Chimera that were a little overextended, but they're still going to be burned out by ACAJ in this cage as the rest of Oblivion fall one by one. EMC Chimera cleaning up these picks as they go along. MCG, however, is removed. Oblivion trying to keep themselves in this game, but now with a cash falling, there's potential. The beat comes out from Maya. The Kitsune Rush from Elemento not able to keep themselves up as well, and Oblivion somehow find the advantage and are back in this engage.
Back in this engage as well as, and EMC Chimera just threw everything in the kitchen sink, including a Desperation Kitsune Rush here. There might not even be a solid touch from EMC Chimera to get back to this point. It's going to be sort of rough, especially considering the fact that Oblivion has ultimates to throw into this one.
Jacko using the Kitsune Rush. The EMP from Nyx as well. Lands onto 2. Ekash and Elemento caught off in it. Psychoka not investing the Pulse Bomb, probably for good reason, as the rest of their team is dead, and Oblivion being able to defy all odds and are entering Club Synesthesia.
Yes, indeed, they hang on with the craziest lifeline I've ever seen. This Sombra play really doing favors for them, and interestingly enough, Lemon doesn't actually go back to the spawn room. It seems like they want to stick on the D.Va for the time being here. This sort of pivots this composition entirely from sort of just, stand still, Malga shoot at each other to an actual proper dive comp.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to dive, however, considering gold is taken out. They did use the Pulse Bomb onto a Cash, but that basically created one dent in a giant, indestructible wall, as now Oblivion's going back to the spawn room now and looking to be switching back over to this Mauser comp.
Yeah, they realized, okay, D.Va, there's a reason nobody else is playing D.Va. We quickly realized and put that one pen to paper, but yeah, now coming back in with the Malga, they've got to try to be able to rebuild this ult bank that they invested so heavily last fight.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult considering the Sombra is already out. Like, probably the closest DPS to an ultimate here. Zombie able to take their head off with that railgun, as Oblivion are still looking for an advantage. That's a good start. Gold gets the kill onto Zombie here, so now the Sojourn out of the picture. Psychoka's also hacked in the backline on the Tracer, so now unable to blink for a few seconds. Trying to throw in the Pulse Bomb. Forced up the Cleansing Season from Jacko, but still EMC Chimera trying to find the advantage, and it's not looking great considering Psychoka and Akash are removed.
Yeah, so now we're going to be heading into another overtime fight, but both these teams have a plethora of ultimates chucked into this one. It's going to be interesting to see how exactly it breaks down. There's probably just going to be one fight total. It's not going to be multiple in terms of where this golden box of victory lies. I think the main thing to watch out for is when these sound barriers are invested, because again, it's going to be the main tool keeping these teams alive and in the fight.
This EMP from Nyx could also be the deciding factor, trying to force out one of those sound barriers, or at least try to force out the team. Here comes the cage fight from Akash, canceled out from the EMP, and the beat from MCG doesn't land in time to keep the Mauga alive. Elemental's Consumer Rush also used here, as now Lemon invests their own beat, Jacko invests their own Consumer Rush as well. Zombies Overclock has to come up big, but they've only been able to eliminate the cage thus far. Psychoka trying to stall out the cards. They are the last remaining person in this fight. EMC Chimera trying to run back, but Oblivion are all but satisfied, pushing this card over to the golden box of victory. Akash comes back into the Doomfist, but is hacked, murdered by Gold in the act as Oblivion now only steps away from capturing this map for their own, and they're gonna do it. Oblivion, after what looked like a difficult point B, bring it back and go to match point.
And while the entirety of Oblivion stepped up, right, let's call it what it is. The Sombra play was absolutely superb. Being able to shut down, yeah, you saw it even there, hacking the Sojourn's POV. No, this is my play. You have to see what I did. And it was just a matter of these EMPs so perfectly timed, constantly shutting down the cage fights, you know, sort of rendering Ekash into such a vulnerable position in the Amalgam mirror, and just doing it time and again, as well as just having the raw output damage from Sombra, you know, with just everything in her kit. It's absolutely amazing to see how good Nyx is. You know, had a bit of a hero swap fiasco going on, but really just stick on the Sombra. You guys are making it work so well right now, and it just truly is paying dividends.
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot of heroes here. Between both DPS, there was a total of 13 or 14 DPS on the side of Oblivion. But at the end of the day, they found their stride. They found what worked and were able to push that card into the club in overtime in what looked like the losable situation. You look at that fight, you look at this fight maybe 1 minute before, and Oblivion were on the back foot. They brought themselves back up, a giant David versus Goliath story, and brought it all the way to the end of the map. What an effort from Oblivion to bring it back here. But now EMC Chimera are put on the biggest back foot of them all. They have to win the next 3 maps in a row here, as we take a look at the stats and just see how much value was brought on by the members of both of these teams. Gold's final blow streak, unfortunately, was not as strong as when it was on the first round, but still very strong stats from across the board from all the members for the side of Oblivion.
Yeah, I mean, these DPS mirroring each other in the final blow category, and you could even see that there was just, you know, overall beefier stats coming out from the side of EMC Chimera, and the reason for that is just simply these teams, they truly were close, and there was a lot of times EMC Chimera had the better of them, but unfortunately, you know, clutch EMPs in overtime are going to be able to get the job over the line here. We specifically have some stats here for the Amalgam mirror, obviously the main thing to look at. And, you know, again, Ekash, you know, coming up bigger, being more involved in the elims, having a bit more damage, but somehow having less healing and a lot less damage blocked, which means these cage fights, it shows that they're being canceled out. You know what I mean? That's going to be the largest factor in affecting those stats, and it happens when you're playing against a Sombra like that, right? Like, it just sort of shuts you down. And there's no real counterplay, right? You can't swap to another tank or anything like that, because you really have to be present in this Amalgam mirror. Otherwise, you're just going to allow Lemon to walk all over you.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be difficult to see with that damage blocked member, but definitely it's going to be interesting to see what the adaptation is going to be here from the side of EMC Chimera. They are in desperate category. They have to try and find the solution here quickly to get themselves back into this matchup. We're going to be jumping to a quick halftime break, and when we return, it'll be the next map in our series. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss the rest of tonight's Friday Night Overwatch feature.
crazy, Malin. I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 40 years. 40 years.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
If you're Bullskunk and Geo right now on our desk here for Friday Night Overwatch, you are currently hugging your dice with glee right now as Oblivion are up 2-0 in this matchup here against EMC Chimera. Bowsy once again with Megalast Heroes. We're heading into map number 3. New Junk City is the map pick. And considering this is a heavy brawl-style map, Mega, something has to change for EMC Chimera.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily say something has to change because they've been, especially on Paradiso, if you go back and watch that, they were playing it pretty effectively on this sort of Malgo brawl that we had going on until, you know, they got EMP'd twice. But that's sort of the name of the game, right? And that's going to be the adaptation you're looking towards heading forward, is just sort of mitigating the value of Nyx on this Sombra. Because it's pretty much the only thing stopping ECAJ from walking over the rest of the lobby. You know, you have a really good Malga in the situation. Take advantage of that. Lean into it more. Support them in the best way you can, which is, you know, again, just stopping this Sombra from constantly EMPing. And even if the EMPs go off, you know, be just a little bit faster on those sound barriers, and I promise you the value will be there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a case of trying to counter out the Sombra if Oblivion try to continue onto it, because it has been a thorn in EMC Chimera's side. But New Junk City probably is an opportunity to do that. This is a much more close-range map. You might have an opportunity to try and scout out that Sombra, but at the same time, the Sombra could take advantage of those dive positions as we are loading in to our third map of the series. Oblivion need one more map to take the sweep, while EMC Chimera are looking to try and trying to get their first map win of the series. It is noteworthy, however, based on the stats of both of these teams, EMC Chimera this entire season has either swept or has been swept. They've never won a map in a match that they have lost. They've never lost a map in a match that they have won. So it's going to be a tough ask here, Megalast, for EMC Chimera.
Yeah, and that's sort of the mental game, right? You don't want to you don't want to worry about it or anything like that. And we might be having an interesting, thing happen here. I want to wait until both teams leave the spawn on it, but it seems like we have an honorable Rhine duel, which makes me just ecstatic. It's going to be a mirror comp throughout. This is a meta of old. You have the May walls in place to help your Rhine out. The Lucio, the Baptiste, it's all just to enable Rhine. Sure, Cassidy's there too, but who cares about the Cowboy when you have the German Crusader on the field? I'm excited now.
We have time traveled back to the early days of Overwatch 2, and Zombie unfortunately has traveled back to the spawn, not even time travel, and now Lemon on this Rhine, just continuing to put the pressure here as Oblivion still are dominating even without the Malga needed.
I mean, yeah, Lemon just kind of walked forward, swinging the hammer of justice and letting everybody else know that they were the nails. And you can tell, right, it's already 80% towards an Earth Shatter online, and now 95 with those extra fire strikes coming through. This Shatter's going to be the first ult online by a mile. Nobody else on Oblivion or EMC Chimera even close. So it's going to be on eCash to now be ready to block this, potentially not even expecting it to be up yet.
As of right now, Lemon has more damage on their team than both of their DPS combined on this Reinhardt. So Oblivion very comfortable on this Reinhardt starting out. Chimera taking this off angle, however. You see the fanning the hammer coming in from Zombie, and the Shatter is with Lemon. Lands nothing with that Earth Shatter. A beautiful block coming in from the Kaz, and now EMC Chimera have an opportunity to push forward until the wall is stopping them in their progress and walling a Kaz in and sending the rest of the team back to the spawn doors.
And there might be a reason that Oblivion asked for this mirror, simply because they seem well versed in it and they're playing it perfectly. Sure, they were able to get the pick through onto Lemon, but with those staggered picks and how quickly Flashpoint goes, I think EMC Chimera is already going to have to be looking towards the next point if they want to get something going in their favor here. Good on them, though, to have the owner stay on this instead of saying, okay, let's swap. But yeah, first point going over to EMC Chimera, and so now it is actually going to be a positioning advantage for... or I should say the first point to Oblivion. EMC Chimera are going to have advantage on the second point here. But they are going to have to play into a plethora of ult that Oblivion has.
Yeah, Junkyard being the next point. EMC Chimera put up in perfect position to take advantage of it. The Deadeye comes out here from Gold, and Psychoka already brought out of the fight here by Nyx. I believe that was a combination of multiple factors. And Maya gets the boop off onto their adversary on the Lucio. Zombie's going to answer back with a Deadeye, but Maya is still wreaking havoc here on this Lucio, booping everybody off the high ground and getting Oblivion this victory. That is a beat.
That's disrespectful. I'll be the first one to say it, Mia. That was disrespectful. Oh my lord. But yeah, I guess when you're just dominating like that, and you see Psychoka, in the chat just wondering why did my team agree to this. But hey, EMC Chimera, look on the bright side right now. You have a massive ult advantage. Oblivion doesn't have anything. You rush forward here, you've got it all in your favor.
Oh, but a beautiful Blizzard and wall coming out from Chimera, being able to clean up the field. Psychoka finds 3, freezing everyone to a popsicle and destroying them all in seconds. And now Chimera finally get a fight win under their belt and take the cap.
Yeah, and finally getting some point progress building, and it was all just off of, that Blizzard combined with an amplification matrix. So now you're able to possibly snowball even further. Both teams are going to be looking towards getting this Earth Shatter online. But even if the Shatter comes through, MCG has the advantage in having that sound barrier that Mia certainly wasted last fight.
See what the advantage is going to be here. Chimera setting up on this high ground. Oblivion want to try to take it for their own before stepping over to the objective. And you can see, and Lemon is thinking about it. They're walled off from the rest of their team, and now the Shatter from Ekaj is a whiff. It lands right into the opposing shield. And now the Immortality Field has to be forced here from Elemento to keep the team alive. Maya dropped extremely low, barely alive by their hands, as here comes the Shatter from Lemon. It lands on the 3 to the ground, and 3 back in spawn.
Yeah, and so now it is going to be Oblivion getting control of this point once again here. There will be time for Chimera to come back in and get another fight, but they're going to be pushing into possibly a Blizzard from Nyx as well as this Amplification Matrix from Jacko, so it is going to be a tall ask to try to get back on to this point here, and really it's going to have to come off of the back of a good Maywall from Psychoka, but Oblivion's really got to make a mistake to make sure that value can be found.
Psycho found the good May wall to initiate the first win here for EMC Chimera as they start taking this wide rotation. The charge comes in from Lemon into a Cash as Nick's looking for this Blizzard in the backline. They land it right onto the members of the team. Zombie is frozen up, but is still able to stay alive as they were not caught in the Blizzard Sneer. It doesn't matter though. The picks are all back and forth. Psychoka and MCG are the last remaining members in this fight. They're actually going to be able to flip the point back in their favor. Now it's just Jacko and Nix in this fight, trying to bring this point back for their own, while EMC Chimera try to find an opportunity to re-engage. Psychoka's going to engage with the Blizzard, and it's starting to freeze up these members one by one. Jacko uses the Immortality Field to keep Nix alive, but can't keep themselves alive, as EMC and Chimera take back the point for their own.
Yeah, it's this back and forth duel going on here, but Lemon is going to be the last Crusader falling here unless some miracle comes out with this sound barrier.
Mia uses the sound barrier, trying to keep the rest of Oblivion sustained, and now MCG is removed. Lemon gets the charge onto Cash, as now a Zombie trying to use his overclock and find these crucial picks, but they've only been able to hit the shield of Lemon, not being able to shoot through it. Gold gets rid of him in the act. It's still, however, an opportunity here. Chimera still trying to bring themselves back as Ikoka comes back in on the Tracer. It's still, however, just Gold cleaning up these picks, and eventually Oblivion will finally take the Junkyard for their own, and they're at Flashpoint, match point here in the series, as the Refinery is the next Flashpoint for these two teams to approach.
Yeah, both these teams have pivoted off of the May here, deciding the Tracer duel is where it's at, and it's also going to be Zombie going over to the Sojourn, just sort of, you know, something that happened in the middle of that round, but important to highlight because it does offer some differences from the Cassidy in terms of the range, as well as just sort of those railgun potential shots you have. So now you're going to see just sort of this back and forth positioning for point here. It seems like that Oblivion is going to have the initial cap here in their favor because they already have positioning on it, but EMC Chimera trying to rotate!
Gold just being an absolute difference maker in this match, getting the head of Elemental before EMC Chimera are even able to step foot on the point, and that amplification matrix is nothing more than a single window in the midst of a broken glass house.
Yes, indeed. Now that point percentage building slowly but surely. Oblivion has 4 ultimates, and they just have to win 2 fights here to lock away this series. So obviously, it's going to be a massive uphill battle for EMC Chimera, but they've got to sort of, you know, muster the strength, muster the troops here and now in their favor, and there could be a flank shatter from Lemon. But amplification matrix to give away where Lemon's hiding. This is just disrespect from Oblivion. This is the second ult that's just been thrown in for the sake of throwing an ult.
Oblivion waiting for the push here. Chimera are stepping foot on the objective here. Deadeye comes out from Gold to separate them off of the point, as now it basically is thrusted into last by territory. 76% and counting, and Nyx wins the Tracer duel. Shatter comes out here from Lemon. It is a whiff, as now a Cash is now taking advantage of this. MCG uses the beat as well, but they're killed out by Jacko, as now there's only Elemental on the support, but Gold is still alive, clicking heads and taking names in this point, as it's all done here for EMC Chimera. Oblivion get the clean 3-0 sweep and continue their run through this tournament.
Yeah, and I feel like there's sort of something mentally that happens. You know, it's a fun statistic, like you said, Chimera, they don't win games where they lose a map. It's either sweeping or getting swept, and that comes down to potentially a mental differential. And clearly Oblivion were in their heads, right? I mean, when you're dumping ultimates, just throwing them in for the sake of saying, hey, we're better, we can just do this because we don't need them. There's clearly just sort of a mental message being sent there, a mental war that can be had throughout the series. But, you know, Oblivion, they needed a win like this, right? Now moving up to 3-2, they've got to sort of gain some momentum in the standings if they want to have a crack at that end of season playoffs. You know, just the better your standings, of course, the better it will always be for you.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, there is a housing crisis in EMC Chimera's head, as Oblivion just living in there rent-free. But still a really good effort from both of these teams, but Oblivion just a little bit better, and Gold probably was the heroic player in this matchup. That Cassidy just taking everybody's head off in the midst of the entire game. And at the end of the day, Oblivion were just the better team at the end of the day. Even in the mirror compositions, they were able to take the advantage for their own here. And I mean, the stats say it all here, Megalas. Only 3 deaths across the board for the side of Oblivion in that entire map.
Yeah, and you could also tell just sort of the impact felt slightly less if you're looking towards, you know, potentially someone like Psychoka, who popped off in those first 2 maps, or the second map, I should say. But unfortunately, the value just wasn't there, not as comfortable on the May. And, you know, it shows when you're having to switch to those comfort picks. I think the main thing we all want to look at, though, is this Rhine differential. You know, MTD might be the word that comes up, and you can't really... I don't want to fault eCash by any percentage, because I feel like there were some shatters that definitely got blocked, for, like eCash, you know, properly playing the hero. But it's just... I mean, the stats speak for themselves, Bousy. It may have been an MTD.
There may have well been a high-quality main tank differential on the field. Lemon, with 4 times the eliminations, almost double the damage, there definitely was a little bit of a differential there for the side of, for the Reinhardts there in this matchup. So, at the end of the day, though, Oblivion, they make their way up to 3-2 now in the regular season and are looking fiery hot here as we approach the playoffs, Megalas. They are looking like a true threat for the championship now.
Yeah, absolutely, and they had a phenomenal sort of run of things, and they're going to want to keep those wins coming. You know, Chimera, just shake this one off, new meta, you got to figure things out, figure out exactly how comfortable you are with the Mauga, but we have talked your ears off long enough with this game. We do have a lovely desk who's going to break down all the action for us.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be throwing it over to our Friday night Overwatch desk here with Bullskunk, Spectron, Hunter Tane, and Geo to break down all the action that you witness in this matchup. Take it away, gentlemen.
Thank you, Bowsy, Megalas. Oh my goodness, what a match we just saw, friends. What a match. It was something. I mean, for starters, I think our Preds might have been a little off, gentlemen. Let's, where did we go wrong? Where did we go wrong? Gio, I gotta start with you, man, because we're in the same boat. What happened? The dice failed us.
The dice were a little incorrect. But we've survived it. We didn't get airballed, Bill Skunk, so
yes,
we have that.
Exactly.
We got the right team winning it. We didn't do a Spectrum or a Hunter team. That's what we didn't do.
We got the right score. We got the score right. It was a 3-0. Okay.
So if we as a team effort, we combine us together, then we're all totally wrong. That's basically what I'm hearing.
We're going to be a Twitter clip in about 20 minutes.
So we were discussing, you know, our MVP candidate, and, you know, as far as mechanics, pop-off potential, really big impact of the game, yeah, we'd probably give it to Gold, but no, that's not what we're doing here. Your MVP for today is absolutely Lemon. Hunter, why did we pick Lemon?
Oh, did we pick Lemon? Let me tell you why we picked Lemon. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just a gap in the tank for a long while. Yes, EKH wasn't doing bad necessarily, just there was clearly a point where Lemon had a lot more experience, not only on the Mauga, but eventually we get to that Reinhardt. It's just... we saw it. In that first fight, it was just a clear difference. Immediately like an 80-20 match in terms of like their ult percentage. I know the fight went down a certain way, but that is super impressive to be able to see that from Lemon, see that kind of performance. And I know we only managed to really see the Mauga and the Reinhardt, but I think it's still really impressive to be good at both of those tanks, to have that level of aggression, because not a lot of tanks have that. Not a lot of tanks are willing to just get into the thing of it and do what needs to be done. And Lemon was just always there in the middle of the fight, and that's exactly the presence you need out of a tank. And I mean, I'd say that's a pretty dang good reason to get them player of the match.
I also want to say, though, I also want to add that, you know, in the conversation between Gold and Zombie, I mean, obviously Gold was much more memorable, especially throughout Para-ESO, right? But you look at their stats in the end, they are basically identical. It just ends up that Gold is a much higher moments per 10 player, you know? He's going to do a lot of absolutely fantastic plays, but also a lot of plays which maybe do leave you scratching your head a little bit. I think it was a slide up to the higher ground where he missed every railgun. I think there was a 1v1 with a Sombra where he misses every railgun. You know, those kind of do have to hurt your case a little bit, and compared to what we were seeing on the other side of the server, Zombie is consistently getting their job done, you know, it does make it a little bit harder to give Gold that MVP.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of wonderful analytics. No, go ahead, please, by all means.
Sorry, no, I was just going to start blushing about there's an easy way to Gio's heart, and that's playing Reinhardt. And both teams, I respect the handshake agreement, but man, Lemon showed absolute differential here on the Crusader. I mean, it just brought me back to the Overwatch that I know and love from the past, and yeah, it's why I would definitely give MVP to Lemon.
I mean, that was my favorite part. It's not even just about the in-game performance. It is a tank coming in and leading the charge, pun very much intended, in pushing Reinhardt into this third map. It was wonderful. It was such a joy to see. I would personally just watch a whole tournament of nothing but Reinhardt. I remember looking at you. But yes, I think just even introducing that puts Lemon in MVP in my mind. Just saying, hey, let's play Ryan on map 3 and get rid of this Mauga thing. That alone forced Lemon right to the top of MVP candidate as far as I'm concerned. Let's look at those stats. I mean, even in-game, it cannot be denied how excellent they performed today.
Good God.
Yeah, dominance here. I mean,
honestly,
there's not much else to say, is there? They speak for themselves.
Yeah. I don't think any good Reinhardt would, or any good tank player for that matter, would look as good without some great supports. Let's talk about a little bit of our Lucio players today, because I felt like that had a huge impact. We saw the very first map on Oasis. I mean, there was a 5%. MCG, excuse me, was 5% away from, I know I got Overwatch. Anyway, 5% away from a sound barrier that would have won out Oasis. And then when we looked at the stats, Mia had 1,000 more damage there on Oasis. I felt like this was a consistent trend going throughout the series. What are thoughts on how our Lucios impacted this? Spectre, I'll start with you.
I mean, I think we heard it, and as well, the Kirikos as well, but I think we heard it remarked on at the end of the first map by our lovely casters. At the end of the day, the backline just wasn't dying all that much for the winning team, and at the end of the day, that's how you win the game. Unfortunately, it's pretty simple when it comes to that. Yeah, often surviving a little bit longer, having a couple less deaths means the uptime is much higher, you're charging more ultimates, you're providing more value to the team. Just able to keep that, death number low as possible was one of the things that really impressed me. Of course, that particular example you mentioned with the MCG doesn't reflect particularly well on them, and it was a bit of a misplayed scenario. But at the end of the day, it was, just representative of the larger sample. I think today we did see the better backline come out on top.
I entirely agree in that situation. Like, I don't even put a lot on MCG. There just came times where if they have, like you said, if they have that beat a second or two earlier, we're looking at a potentially a different scoreline. But there were times where they get picked off early. Like, whenever you see that cage fight come down from Lemon, if MCG was in it, they were going to be the first one dead. It was a no-brainer that the Lucio just cannot do anything in that situation, and they just get caught out every time. It's kind of an unfortunate scenario. It kind of plays into the tank situation as well as, like, the aggression from Lemon to where they can just get into that backline. So it's a lot of pressure to put on a duo like Elemento and MCG especially, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's once you get enough pressure on you, like, anybody's going to crack, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if we're being fair to EMC, and I think they'll agree with us when they VOD review this, it should be 2-1 right now, because they should have won Blizzard World. Paraiso. That fight on second point on their defense when it was overtime for Oblivion, that really should have been their fight, but I think they took their finger off the ball. I think they maybe airballed it a bit and kind of let that map slip away from them. So I think if they can find out what went wrong in that fight, whether they kind of thought it was over or what, if they kind of fix that up, they can look a lot better in those kind of chaotic, longer fights that run.
It's funny you mentioned, I was literally just about to ask you about that exact fight on Paradise ESO, because we were both talking in that moment, like, hey, our Preds are looking good. We're about to be 1-1 here, and these teams are looking pretty even, and suddenly Jacko just won't die. Especially when you're talking about just that backline won't die. Jacko lives on that cart forever, and somehow Oblivion get the reinforcements, and I did it, y'all. I swore I wouldn't did it. I did it. Oblivion get the reinforcements on the cart, and somehow managed to win that one out and push that one through. Unreal match. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us here today. We do have one more match coming at you later on this evening when Friday Night Overwatch will continue. That will be at 8 o'clock Eastern. That match will start. But until then, y'all get a snack. And, well, we will see you back here after some dinner. That'll do it for us. We'll see you back for NA. Bye, friends.